Right, so let's start a new chapter, which is data sanitization and security. So security is a really important thing when it comes to any software system, because possibly there can be several vulnerabilities in your system that you need to address, and even if you address all the necessary vulnerabilities, still the attacks can be enforced in your system resources to maybe gain access, or maybe disclose your confidential information, or maybe obtain user credentials, or things like that. So due to that, you need to implement sort of security boundaries or security concerns or appliances in order to prevent these sort of attacks. So typically there are several types of attacks. So I have mentioned 4 types of attacks here, but there can be even quite a lot of more types of attacks, but these are the common types that we encounter in usual systems. So database compromising and brute force attacks, so cross-site scriptings, denial of services. So these types of attacks are there. And considering database compromising stuff, usually what happens is that your data can be maybe get lost, or maybe they can be taken by any sort of unauthorized personnel without your permission, right? So in such cases, we shouldn't let those unauthorized personnel to further attack our user base or further cause harm to our system, right? So in order to prevent such stuff, first thing what we can do is that we can prevent such compromisings that is being happening, right? So it can be something like this, preventing NoSQL query injections or something like that. So in our case, actually what we are going to focus on NoSQL. Therefore there can be having some sort of malicious query injections that can be performed by some sort of unauthorized personnel. So we have to enforce some sort of security mechanism to prevent such stuff. Also, our password should be hashed, because in case of compromising of our database, all the necessary credentials can be disclosed to such unauthorized person, which is not quite good, right? Therefore we have to hash our password, and in any scenario we shouldn't store the plain text password in our backend services. And the brute force attacks, again, are very common types of attacks, and usually this is performed in order to engage the availability of our servers. Therefore we have to mitigate those types of attacks as well. So usually what we can do is that we can implement the rate limitation stuff, which means there can be a certain set of or let's say certain times of, or let's say maximum limit to invoke the API from a specific user. For example, let's say if there is a API called let's say post/all, and what we can do is that we can enforce a specific rate limit by saying that okay, a specific user can invoke only 10 requests per minute or something like that. And if a user invoke beyond those limit, what happen is that automatically that user request will be blocked, and our server won't be response back to the user in order to prevent that attack, right? And that's one thing. And another concern is that we can implement maximum logging attempts limitations as well. And cross-site scripting, usually known as XSS attacks, also possible. And usually what we can do is that we can sanitize user input payloads and all, because the cross-site scripting, what the hacker or what that unauthorized person is doing is that he is specifying sort of scripts inside your user payloads and sending to the server. So when the server is reading that specific payload, what happens is that basically that script will be executed inside our servers without our knowledge, and it will cause some sort of harm to our services or data layers. So we have to prevent such stuffs as well, and in order to prevent those XSS attacks, we can set security headers in our HTTP payload as well. So you can see that we can use Helmet package to achieve that. Likewise, there are a lot of packages that are publicly available in Express to enforce these sort of security mechanisms. And denial of service attacks, very common, which means again this is attacking for the availability of our servers. Therefore we can implement rate limitations, or maybe we can implement the body payload sizes, things like that. So the body payload is basically mean we can specify a maximum range for the standard payload. For example, let's say if there is a API called post created activity, let's say /post or something like that, then the image of that post, or maybe a video of that post, can be in the size of maximum maybe 1 Mbps or 1 MB or maybe 2 MB or something like that. So a payload beyond that limit will not be processed by the server in order to prevent these sort of attacks, right? So we can implement such logics by using body parser package that is available in Express. Also, sanitize harmful regular expressions is another way of preventing these sort of DDoS attacks. Right, so those are the types of attacks and the security concerns that we can implement. And yeah, in the next video, let's see how we can do this stuff in the practical sense. And yeah, thank you.